Hello. It's been a minute, but I am very, very excited to share with you today's interview, which is a conversation with my dear friend Nathaniel Dahlquist, who I will read a little bio of before we get into it. So, Nathaniel is a bicoastal actor, singer, and circus performer. He grew up in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, graduated from Yale University with a degree in theater studies, and has lived in New York and Los Angeles as a professional actor. He's performed in 55 countries and speaks 4 languages. I talked to Nathaniel last September, I believe. I've been sitting on this interview for a year because I've had so many millions of other things to do, but I'm really excited to share it with you. And now is a great time to do so because Nathaniel's recent film project, The Ice King's Heart, was just accepted to the Las Vegas International Film and Screening Festival. So, even though it's more than a year after I filmed it, it is still timely because my buddy Nathaniel is always hustling. Again, even though we filmed it a year ago, I am feeling a lot of the stuff we talked about really, really presently right now. So I hope that this conversation is really useful to you as well. We are live. Hi, Nathaniel. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Hi, Zena. So great to see you again after so long.
We're constantly DMing about nonsense, but never face to face. So this is fun.
That's true. Also, it's totally not nonsense. Well, it's literally all the things we're going to talk about.
Very
That's
true.
what we DM about.
Literally, yeah.
It's actually vitally important information.
I also have to say, your setup looks so good. It looks so good.
Thank you. You know, sometimes this equipment gets a little funky and I paid a fortune for it, but this is my workspace, because we'll talk about this, but I have different streams of income and some of them require me to have a nice setup and there's a lot of overlap. These days a nice setup goes a long way. So thank you so much. I worked hard on it.
Focus. What's it called? The depth of field, whatever. It's great.
The depth of field, that's one of those. That's why I hire people to be my director of photography and don't do it myself.
That's where I am.
Because they know things.
Yes. Okay, so why don't we start out with, you are Nathaniel Dahlquist, but what are your titles as a creative multi-hyphenate?
Oh my God, my titles. The first thing I think of is Mother of Dragons. Well, no, perhaps not. I am primarily an actor. That is what my training is in. I have been a singer and an actor my whole life. I do play a couple of instruments and have played for off-Broadway shows in the past. But right now, my main thing is producing and producing my own work. So I do so many different aspects of it. I'm a producer, I'm a writer, I write all my own stuff. Writing is a huge part of my day job also, which keeps that muscle and skill pretty sharp. I am an actor and, I do a bunch of other things too. I was a professional dancer for a while. I trained circus. There are so many little things. And basically what wound up happening is every time I followed my curiosity, I got really excited about the new skill and just did it to a beginner to intermediate level for most of them. I would qualify myself as advanced or expert in some things for sure, but you can get really far in the social media age with intermediate skills and 3 or 4 things. There's a book by the guy who wrote the comic Dilbert. It's on my bookshelf somewhere. It's it's right here. It's Scott Adams, and it's how to fail at almost everything and still win big.
That's amazing.
And basically, his whole thing is he was like, I'm not the best drawer, the best artist. I'm not the best office worker, but I can draw about office work. And I am the best at that. And that is how the Dilbert comic became so successful. So great book if anybody needs a little bit of a boost, because he's very much you do not have to win a gold medal at the Olympics in everything that you do. Finding the Venn diagram overlap is where it's
That's
at.
so real. And I feel that's
to your question,
totally in the spirit of being a multi-hyphenate.
Indeed. Well, I think that's what it is now. Gone are the days of the studio system where, you'd get hired as a movie star and they just owned you. I mean, there certainly is an aspect of that still exists. But if your parents or grandparents or circle of people since you were in the womb, if they're not A-list movie stars or directors or producers or people in the studio system, if you're just a regular, I was thinking about Zena's and my history before this interview, before this podcast, and I was thinking, if you are the kid who is 14 years old in high school in your suburbia and you're watching the 2004 Tony Awards on this new platform called YouTube and you're watching Idina Menzel like fly into the air, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to move to the big glitzy city where people fly into the air. And then you are swiftly told, well, we need backups for the backups of people who fly into the air.
Vacation swings.
We need someone to cover 8 tracks on the second national tour. It's not equity. Do you want it? That is not the dream that we had when we were 14, I believe. And yet here we are. And the way that you can assure yourself that you're going to be able to stand in your artistic integrity and make what you want to make and express yourself is by being a multi-hyphenate and being able to find your intersectionality, whatever that means. And that doesn't necessarily mean identity, although it can, but identity as an artist is just as Venn diagrammy and nuanced and fun as, you know, the intersectionality of race or gender or sexuality or, you know, all of the things that we have intersectionality about. And that's what makes it fun. And that's what makes people unique in social media age.
I do feel like you very much understand the vibe in a way that I get a little sleepy about it. Like I have fun, but then at a certain point I'm like, I have to stop posting. So I admire your stamina around that.
Why, thank you. It does require a great deal of stamina. I live in Los Angeles, and therefore almost everyone I know has a social media career of some kind, and you can put career in scare quotes if you want, but if you call yourself an influencer or you've got, 10,000 followers, that counts, man. If you got 5,000 followers, that counts. If you have 2,000, if you're treating it like an influencer, then you might be a baby influencer, a little one, but step,
Truly. And it is kind of fun and wild to watch those numbers go up and be like, oh, I guess, something's here. There's something for everyone in internet land too.
It's impossible to understand the addictive nature of that thing until it's happened to you. Every single person I know who has had a video go viral, who has finally hit something, who is getting attention or got the algorithm for some reason hooked your video, it is tantalizing, it is a drug, it is addictive, and that is why people go broke looking for their next hit, because sometimes, especially TikTok is notorious for, giving you a really viral video and then that's it. So it can be tough, very addicting, and it's really fun, but you can't really understand what it's like until it's happened to you and you're like, oh my God, wow. I'm waking up in the middle of the night to see how many people in some other country have watched my video. As embarrassing as that might be, let it happen to you and tell me that's not what you did.
Refreshing your little feed and seeing ooh, how many more views? Looking at the little graphs. Oh, love the graphs. So fun.
Yeah. Oh, the graphs are great. Well, Zena, do you want to tell your lovely listeners how we met and how we're connected? Because we have a history.
Way back at this point. We went to school together, went to college together.
Yeah.
At beautiful Yale, did tons and tons of theater and a cappella and musical theater performance class.
Oh, the classes. That was a good one. I think that was actually probably the closest proximity connection that we had.
Day to
because
day.
we were very much not in the same a cappella groups. And we were also, I don't know if we ever did a show together, did we? I don't know. Which is difficult to imagine because we were both neck deep in theater there. Aggressively. But we were in the same, we did take at least 2 classes together, I think. So we formed our thoughts around things together in that lovely little bubble.
Funny little place. Okay, so I feel like this is kind of relevant to question number 2, although you've also sort of gestured towards it throughout. But how did you kind of get started on your path to multi-hyphenateness?
What a great question. So I hated it at the time. I hated Yale for this. I was so upset. I did not want to produce somebody else's senior project. I thought that was the biggest load of BS. Yale requires their junior theater studies majors. It was a requirement to graduate with that major that you produce somebody else's senior project, and they put us through it. Honestly, it was a terrible experience. I was like, I will never be a producer again. And in hindsight, I wish that I had to do that more. Not producing, but I wish that I had been required to run a camera, been required to edit something, been required to color correct something. I wish that I had learned some of those skills. I learned them because now it's really easy to do that with the internet. But that would have been really helpful for me. And I know that at NYU, for example, the film majors there you cycle through all the jobs. So by the time you've graduated, you have done every job on a project, which I think is brilliant because you just never know when you're gonna need to be the director of photography and light the scene. So that was the beginning. And then I moved to New York City. And I would like to add a hot topic hyphen to this, which is entrepreneur. I think that the entrepreneurial spirit is a vital part of being a performer, an independent performer who is not lifted by the studio system or Broadway immediately. If you are just starting out, or if you are trying to make ends meet, basically, your acting career is a small business. And as mine grows, as I add people to my team and I realize A, how expensive things are, and B, all the people that you need to get what seems automatic, like people don't just go to events. You don't just like show up. You have to be invited or have a PR person who gets you in there, and you have to pay for that. There is a lot of things you got to pay for in this. The entrepreneurial aspect of it developed because I was an academic tutor in New York City, and I was working for academic tutoring companies just like Zena was. We actually worked for the same company for a while, right out of school, and bless them, they taught me a lot. And I, eventually struck out on my own, and that has been incredibly lucrative and a very good idea for me. Not for everyone, but I loved it. And that small business mindset, the things I've had to learn about taxes, the things I've had to learn about budgeting, about investment strategies, free capital, these are all words that you learn in econ that you don't learn in a theater studies major, but they all have to do with, do you have enough money to support yourself in your career and further your career in the ways that other people are advantaged in ways that you are not. So it's quite a thing. So that was a big part of it. And I just kept adding hyphens as I got curious about stuff. So I took ballet for 2 years intensively and became a professional ballet dancer there for a while, which I got paid for it. So like professional I am, I suppose. I joined the circus community and like worked with Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas with their coaches. And so every single little hyphen I add has been delightful. Well, maybe not everyone, but now I'm really working to embrace all of those pieces, and I actually really love producing. I love getting people together to make something and getting people excited about a project and finding the way that they can use their skills the best to make my dream not just come true, but exceed anything I could have thought of. I find this particularly true in makeup, costumes, color correction. In those three fields in particular, I give those to somebody, and what they give back to me, I am floored. I'm just like, wow, that changed everything. Oh, music too. Music is a big one too.
I am hoping to be able to get to that point very soon on my own project. We'll see.
Yes, it gets more fun once all the gears are turning. And what I found too is that set up, spend money, plan, organize, and my organization brain is like, please stop. And then I get on set, and because of all my planning and organization, everything runs smoothly. And there we are on set or on stage, which is where Zena and I belong.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, I love this. This part is like playing. This is easy. This is what I went to school for. This is what I've been doing since I was old enough to walk. This part is fun. This is easy. It was the pulling teeth and making sure everybody shows up on time. It's hard.
Truly, literally, exactly, yes. Okay, so another question that I have at this point is, what has been your favorite culmination of your creative skills so far? Like a time that you have combined some of these titles into something really cool.
Oh my goodness. I have a very specific example from just this past year. At this time last year, I started writing and planning a project called Hulkling and Wiccan, Love is Power, which is two superheroes, gay superheroes from the Marvel canon who are not in the MCU yet. And I wrote a piece for them, for us, and I started finding the team and putting everything together. I shot it at the beginning of November last year. I spent a fortune editing, color correcting, getting the music done in really beautiful ways. It came out so well. But then I also used the marketing brain and the strategy brain and the social media brain and said, okay, I have this beautiful thing that I love. How do I get it in front of people? And literally planned a social media campaign that started months before it actually came out and got that momentum going. And then when it actually came out, I had found people, or people had found me, who were fans of those characters and wanted to see the project, and then got the engagement that way. And I got over 100,000 Instagram followers over the course of about 6 months. But it also changed changed my life because a year ago I had never been to any sort of convention or Comic-Con, and now I've been to 3. I went to LA Comic-Con last year for the first time, then I went to WonderCon, which is in Anaheim right by Disneyland, and then I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and I spoke on a panel, and it was a huge joy. It was so much fun, and I went from having dreamed of one day maybe going to like being involved in it, and it felt so right to me. I loved seeing people who love what I love, you know, comic books, fantasy, cinematic and TV adaptations of characters, that kind of thing, and want more of that because it's really fun to interact with the people who love what I love. And I love theater too. I love musical theater, but I'm out here in LA, so there's much less of that. And it was such a huge success. And I did pitch it to Marvel. I sent them a 40-page pitch deck, which I also wrote, which I'd never done before. Another skill that I wish someone had taught me, but I learned on the fly. And while they did not get back to me, it was worth its weight in experience.
And someday you're going to be like, thank God I know how to do that.
That's exactly right. And I tell my academic students this, my writing students this, but nothing is ever wasted.
Totally.
Any drop of effort you put into your creative career, into learning more, into expanding what you can do, none of that is ever wasted, even if you don't see it right away, because it's all just developing your skill set and your tools and your appreciation for other people who work in different departments. Even if you try makeup design and you're like, oh my God, I am so terrible at this, then you will treat your makeup artists with respect. You will understand how hard their job is and respect them, and you're gonna make friends that way, and you're gonna find people who want to help you because you're kind to them. That's huge. Humongous. Yeah. One of the conversations Zena and I had long ago, I think at this point, is choosing to embrace it rather than resent it and find ways to make it work rather than being upset that it didn't work in the way that we dreamed when we were 13 and 14 years old, because that system didn't exist even a couple years later. Like that world of theater and TV and film, that's long gone. It just doesn't work that way.
The industry has changed so much over the past few years. Some might even say deteriorated. I keep seeing all these tweets about like, remember when we used to have 20 episode seasons of TV that came out every single year at the same time, and not these like wait 2 years for 8 episodes of a season. Also goofy news, like Chick-fil-A just announced that they're going to branch out into entertainment. Also, I saw yesterday at work, Northwell Health, the urgent care clinic, is starting Northwell Studios. It's getting so weird. And so it's like
that's
it's
bizarre.
Like we truly cannot rely on anything outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
The only true cause and effect I feel in this industry is like, what did I do? Like, if I do something, I will see the effects. Everything else is gravy. Everything else is out of my hands.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weirdly freeing, and it's like frustrating at times, freeing at other times.
I mean, it's tough right now. There is a humongous reshuffling happening at this very moment. I think it's going to take a couple of years to reach any kind of equilibrium.
Survive until 25.
Survive to 25 has been a mantra over here for sure. But people are still going to make stuff. It's just going to look different. I mean, for example, I went over to the UK to see my agent in the UK and like have a chat with her in person about like what we were going to do. And what I learned being over there is that a huge amount of production is moving to the UK because the country gives people incentives. So for example, I really want to be in fantasy and sci-fi TV. I just love fantasy and sci-fi so much. And what my agent and I talked about is that what I might need to do is already have a UK working visa, because a lot of that stuff is shot in the UK because a British accent says fantasy to Americans, and they get incentives for hiring locals and people who live there and people they don't have to house and people who already have visas, like all kinds of things. So it's a whole kettle of fish. If anybody is interested in like the business aspect of like what's going on, I highly recommend listening to The Town by Matt Bellany. It's a Ringer podcast that is really up to date, decent reporting, definitely some hot opinions in there. There's definitely some bias, like just keep your eyes peeled. But as far as like staying up to date with what's happening, it affects you, and it's going to affect you as a seller, because if you are an artist, you are selling something. And if you don't like the way I'm talking about this, I'm really sorry. But also like, this is just the reality. This is like how this works. Capitalism is you have something to sell, somebody wants to buy it from you, is really how that works.
Literally, yep.
And you can resist it or you can embrace it. You make your choice. But if you want people to buy what you got to make sure that it's packaged in a way that they're going to want to buy it. So, you can't write a 20 episode, like if you wrote a 20 episode season of TV, there just aren't any buyers for that. You could maybe if you wanted to, you could, I know, right? You could shop it out to the people who do verticals for social media. Those are like 80 episodes and they're all like a minute and a half. I shot one a couple months ago and like honestly had a blast. They're just like little stories. I don't know. There's all kinds of opportunities to make art and tell stories in ways that didn't exist before. My primary concern is that everybody makes sure they get their credit card bills paid and are able to make their rent on time. And I think that people have really got to embrace I think this is in Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, not throttling your creativity by forcing it to pay your bills. I think that if you can we live in a world where everybody's got multiple jobs, multiple streams of income, not just artists, everybody. Resist it or embrace it. But if you embrace it, there is a lot to be gained. And I just got so tired of being poor, Zena. I got so tired really not being sure if I was going to make my, at the time, $1,000, $1,100 of rent, which now is sounds great. I got so tired of it when I embraced building my tutoring company and leverage my other skills. I made enough money that I could relax and actually enjoy my auditions and not be like, please God, I need this job every single time I walked in the room. You know what I mean?
Truly. Yeah, gosh, it's hard out here. Okay, let me look at my fourth question, which is, what inspires you?
What inspires me right now, oh my God, this is actually a question on my kids' college applications too. What inspires you? And they really struggle with it. And I'm like, you got to figure it out for yourself. I really love watching people give it their all. And that's why I'm so inspired by the Olympics, is just watching people lay it all out. And, when you're in it for the long haul, you have to be aware that you cannot give 100% every single day or you will perish. You will burn out. You will lose your voice. You will not be able to continue. We know that as performers who have done 8 shows a week, especially when you're the lead. I am so inspired by people who take it into their own hands and do it themselves, who are therefore able to more authentically embody their own creativity and what they love. Because what I tell all my writing students is, and we learned this at Yale, the more specific you are, the more it will appeal to the broader human experience. The narrower your focus and the more intentional and specific you are in everything that you put on that stage, the more it's going to resonate with people. Being broad is not doesn't resonate as well. I mean, there are always exceptions, but this is a fun artistic tool, is to get really specific. And for example, last weekend I went to this fantasy ball called Labyrinth. It's every year. It's based on the Jim Henson movie from the 80s that has David Bowie in it. So there are Muppets everywhere. It's been going on for decades. It's at the Biltmore in Los Angeles. And the level of creativity in these costumes is off the charts. There was a woman dressed as a ship. She had a big blue wig. She had a mast coming up over her head. She had sails, and her dress was the hull of the ship. And I was like, you better work. It was delightful. I'm so inspired by seeing people wearing their creativity. It's amazing. I just love it so much. And, you don't have to do that in order to express yourself, but I am so inspired by people who just make the invisible visible in some way. They take their ideas and embody them one way or another.
Yeah, and it's what we're called to do. That's our gift from the universe or whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, again, I feel like you kind of gestured towards this, but let's see what happens when I ask it in so many words. Why should other creative people go multidisciplinary? Why should people branch out from their single discipline?
When I was just starting out in New York, I thought, I am an actor, singer, dancer, and that's it. I'm not going to be anything else. I am this is it. And what I realized, I think that this is a really useful analogy. That's like an oil painter saying that he will never ever try sculpture, or never ever try charcoal, or never ever try acrylics. Just a different flavor, a different brush, and it is limiting to do that. It's limiting to say, I am only this one thing. It can give you focus. It can give you motivation and discipline to pursue it in a really deep way. But I would really encourage people not to cut their artistic selves off at the knees by not exploring other things they may be good at because they feel like that's their identity. You are not going to lose your identity as an actor if you expand to become a dancer as well, or if you learn movement. You're not going to be like, oh my God, I'll never work as an actor again. I'll only ever be cast as a dancer and my life will be terrible. And I actually had this conversation with my therapist about Hulkling and Wiccan because I was, pitching it to Marvel, and I said, the way that I have to pitch this is as the showrunner, the creative force behind it, as the creator of this show. Maybe they wouldn't let me play the role I want. Maybe they wouldn't let me play Hulkling. And my therapist said to me, Nathaniel, would it be so terrible to be the showrunner of a Marvel show? Would it just be so awful? Would you resent it every step of the way? And I was like, no. That comes back to this question of like, why are we doing this? Because if I did choose to resent having a big job where I was affecting people in the deepest way that I want to tell more stories. I want to give people a mirror to reflect on their own experiences. I want to make a hat. Would I sacrifice making the hat because I didn't get to make it in the way I wanted to? Which is worth more, the hat itself or my ego about it? And that's a real question. That's a hard question, okay? I say it frivolously now, but that therapy session was rough for me, okay?
Totally. And I think, too, there's being able to recognize when you are getting into that ego place is so important, too. And it can be really tough to take a step back and say, okay, what am I willing to sacrifice to make this happen?
Is it
and
worth it? What I want to do?
Miserable? Because if you would be miserable, then it's not worth doing it. But if you can live with it and can see the positives, then yeah. Oh, these are questions. Life is so big and weird.
God, it's so big and weird. Zena and I have both really gone through the ringer on like knowing that we have a lot to offer, worked extremely hard, invested years of time and money into sharpening our skills, getting to a level where we were competitive, learning the hard lessons that we're talking about right now. Like those cost us something, you know what I mean? Like it costs something to learn these things. And confess that like I always have had a little bit of bitterness about it. I've always been a little upset that like I didn't book Broadway right out of college like I wanted to. I didn't.
Nobody does.
I thought that I was going to move to New York City and like sing the star to be from Annie, and then, like Stephen Schwartz would be walking down the street and be like, oh, there you are. That like didn't happen. It doesn't happen for basically anyone.
Right. And so this is something that I talk about a lot too, or that I think about a lot. Having a master class at school, inviting the 1 in 1 million people who did immediately book Broadway out of school to have them talk to students is cool and interesting. But the other 999,999 people will probably not learn very much from that conversation. The grind itself is where you actually learn how to do the thing, how to make a life, which again is like not to discount those very wonderful, lucky people, but it's just like you can't teach luck.
Ain't it the truth? And you can choose to resent that you were tragically born without a trust fund. What a mistake to be born without a trust fund. Or you can take stock of what you do have. And that's what I wanted to get at too with the like, Zena and I have been through some serious disappointments and eye-opening experiences, and both of us have decided to make the best of what we've got and actually enjoy our lives and like be creative and keep going. And, there's a great Ira Glass quote from a This American Life episode where he basically says, your taste is high and your skill is low, and the only way that you're gonna get to make things that are at the level you want to make them is to keep making them, is to keep doing it. There is no shortcut. There's no cheat to getting to make the level of things. Okay, sometimes money helps. Like if somebody threw $1 million at me, I could make a really amazing production. But like,
you still have to get the money.
But you have to learn how to do that. Well, right, God, honestly, I wish I had a minor in fundraising because I could sure use that.
Another life. I just remembered something else very funny about the 1 in a million. Do you remember when someone came to our school?
I was going to bring it up, but I wasn't sure if it was too traumatic for both of us still.
I'm going to pick the one thing that I think is most relevant to this conversation.
Yeah, go
to
for
illustrate what I was saying earlier about the 1 in a million thing is like a certain person came to our school and did a Q&A thing. And among the many questions, someone asked like, oh, how do you get started in the industry? And this person said, win a reality TV show?
Because that's what she did.
she did.
That's how she got her start. That's how it happened for her, and so that was her
And
answer.
that to me is the illustration of why asking that kind of person that kind of question can really be a dead end. You know, it's like they
What a
don't
great
know
point.
what they did. They got
In,
lucky.
in contrast, well, exactly. They just never had to solve that problem. They had a different set of problems to solve, or you could lose a reality TV show and then become Lindsay Sterling. She's somebody who really, she was slapped in the face with a very public and humiliating no. Was it AGT when she was quite young? And they were like, it's impossible to dance and play violin at the same time. And I have seen clips from her shows right now, her tour, and she's
stadiums.
dancing. She's doing circus. Yeah, and she's playing violin at the same time and absolutely slaying it. So sometimes you don't win a reality TV show, and then you just keep making the work and keep having a YouTube channel about it, and then one day you're touring and making $1 billion. Congrats, Lindsay. Like, I want to meet her one day and just be like, you're amazing.
That rules. She rules. Making your own stuff rules. She gets to make her own schedule. That's so cool.
Yeah. She is performing at the intersection of her Venn diagram. There is no one else who can do what she does. And because she is a violinist, a dancer, and a circus performer, and she went hard on those skills, she is extremely advanced and expert in all three of those things, especially violin and dance. That's how she is who she is, because she went after her specific skills. Now there's nobody else who can do what she does in the way that she does it.
That's awesome. Oh, yay. Very inspiring. Very inspiring. So I would love to talk a little bit about shifting gears now. Tell us about your survival job.
So, like I said before, I was a tutor when I moved to New York City. I did SAT and ACT prep and slowly added, more things that I tutored, a lot of academic subjects, other standardized tests, eventually got into college application advising, and I have my own company now called Kingfisher Prep, and basically I have, other tutors. If my personal stable is full of people, because it gets full rather quickly, which I'm so grateful for, but I worked really hard for it. When my schedule is full, I have other people in other disciplines who can take anybody that I refer to them. I run the company. I still tutor quite a lot. It is rather pricey. It is a high-end tutoring company because that's the service that we offer. And what I make from that job, almost all of it gets reinvested into what I really want to be doing, which is making my own work. And one of the distinct advantages that I feel very lucky to have, though I did work a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on this one. Like, I cannot overemphasize how, but I built this company and now I can produce the work that I want to make. And what happened when I produced the work that I wanted to make, I put it on the internet, and then I started getting invited to parties because people saw it and were like, hey, you seem cool. Why don't you come to this event? And at that event, I met other people way higher up in the industry, directors, producers, agents, all kinds of people. And I would introduce myself and they said, I know who you are. You're Nathaniel Dahlquist. You do Hulkling and Wiccan on Instagram. Because their interests aligned with mine, and the algorithm had given them my content. The algorithm was the thing that got me around the agents, the managers, the casting directors, and straight to the people that I really wanted to talk to, that I wanted to show my work to, because I got to circumvent some of the gatekeepers, because everybody has Instagram. Right. I was very, very grateful for that, and I did plan it that way, to be fair, and still do. I have more projects cooking that I'm editing later today, which I'm so excited about. It's really, really easy to get down on oneself as an artist, especially if you don't have an artistic outlet. And I have discovered that not only do I need to have something to work on, I need to have something that I'm excited about working on. And bless Mary Poppins, in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun and snap, the job's a game. So whenever I am learning a task, maybe something that's a little bit challenging, I got some editing and color correcting ahead of me today, I am going to remember that what I'm trying to do is make my vision come to life. And that's why I'm learning that skill. And I guarantee you, I'm going to have a freaking blast.
I find that too.
Playing around with how many shadows are in this frame, which is a really silly question on the surface. And actually what I'm asking is, how can I make what I have in front of me match what's in my head? And that's art. That's art creation. That's literally the definition.
That is something that I am like slowly coming to terms with, how to force my chaotic little gremlin brain that's like, I only want dopamine. I only want to watch Love is Blind UK and YouTube. But to remember, actually, getting work done is also very fun and rewarding. It's fun to look at your empty to-do list, and it's fun to look at your emails, and it's fun to, I mean, writing is hard. Like, I don't know if writing is all that. I have to do it. I am compelled to do it, but like, ugh. But just trying to remember that, like, you like to do these things. There's a reason you like to do them. Just because they are not brain candy does not mean they are not fun.
Right. Well, and I think it's really important for anybody who is like Nathaniel, Zena, how can this possibly be true? There are simply things that are just terrible no matter how you slice it. There is, from the business world, there is this lovely concept called outsourcing.
Yeah.
And outsourcing does not have to cost you $1 million. It really doesn't. And I learned that lesson the hard way because I like to feel like I've hired the best and most expensive people, and wow, that depletes the coffers quickly. But if there is something that you genuinely feel unequipped to do, or that you think your time could be better leveraged elsewhere, there's a very entrepreneurial idea that you need to leverage your time in the best possible way. And the things that anybody else could do, outsource. And this is going to sound like a really, it might be a little bit of a cringe example, but like, anybody can clean your house. Yeah. Anybody can do the laundry, but only you can write the thing that you need to write. I know that's cringe. Please don't hate me. But you see totally. The example that's in there. Like,
or like, there are lots and lots of people who are offering money to do those things, but there is nobody offering,
that's right.
Or lots of people accepting money to do those things. There's nobody you can pay to take what's in your brain and make it real.
That's right. That's on you. That's only you. And I think that's important to remember, because sometimes the finances allow for outsourcing like that, and sometimes they do not. Like, for example, 6 months ago, I definitely had the finances to do that, and it was great, and I got a lot done. And now I don't. The finances do not exist for that. And as intelligent personal finance management people, we have to be aware of what's spending outside of our means and what we can't afford to do in that moment, and say, I might need to sacrifice some things that I would like for what I need more. And it's a tough form of discipline. It really is.
It's so tough. It's so tough. Speaking of discipline, do you mind if I ask if you have any specific tools or methods that you use to stay organized?
I am an absolute like disciple of Google Drive.
Me too.
I have so many external hard drives, and big ones, that I keep my footage on, because like, if you're a filmmaker, you swiftly learn that footage is big, and Google Drive is very organized. I am a person, apparently this is really scandalous, I am a person who almost always has a clean email inbox.
Terrifying.
I think of the 3 emails that I have in my inbox right now, there's only one of them that won't get finished today because it's like a longer term project thing. I am extremely disciplined about keeping that clean because I cannot deal with a giant stack of mail. I can't do it.
Wow.
Apparently that's scandalous. That's just like, I have to do that for my own mental health. And every time I say that, people are like, you're insane. How do you do that?
It is not scandalous, but it is terrifyingly impressive. Yeah. Like, I wish I could be that person, but people just keep emailing me.
I mean, hey, that's not bad. I will say this, one of the tools, I don't remember, I read this somewhere, that was like, if you want to feel better in your life, unsubscribe to any email that you don't actually read. You know, you have to put your email in when you're shopping on some online clothing store, and then they send you deals and stuff. And I thought that was a good idea at the time because I would want to buy more stuff from them. It turns out that when I unsubscribe from those sites, I spend less money, and I do not think about it one bit.
It's like, I no longer want to buy anything from
Win,
you.
win, win, win for me. Part of it too is limiting spam's ability to find me, because it's just not even spam, but like stuff that is like low importance and not urgent. When my clients email me, that is important and urgent. Like, I have very strict rules. I try to reply to most emails the same day that I'm working, but I do definitely do it within 24 hours, one business day, basically, whenever possible. And let me tell you, that has gotten me so many clients. replying that quickly, because a lot of people don't do that. Sometimes I've gotten clients just because I was the first person to talk to them and because I just got on there. Now, I'm very lucky that I have the brain space to be able to do that, but it's my job. It's a high value proposition for me. I get a lot out of responding quickly to emails because they pay me well.
Yeah, I need to be better email girly. That is so difficult.
It is. It's hard.
Difficult. Life is so wild. Okay, on the flippity side, what do you do for fun? What do you do to unwind?
Okay, this philosophy served me well for a time, and I have had to change it. It used to be that I would choose things to do for fun that would also secretly be building a skill. Sure. And so I got into circus for fun, and I promised myself that I would never put pressure on it to get me jobs, and then it did get me jobs. And so it was a little bit of a double-edged sword because I got to play Tarzan, I got to use my circus skills, but then all of a sudden that was part of my business. It was something that is tax deductible. And so recently I have started taking care of my yard a little bit better. I have been using my creativity to imagine ways to make my yard even more pleasant, which I'm very lucky to be in LA with a yard. That's a big one. I am really trying to, this is going to be impossible to schedule because he has so many events, but I really want to take like a couple week-long pottery class with my boyfriend.
Cute.
And I don't want to sell it. The Nathaniel brain goes like, I could get good at this and then I could start an Etsy shop. And like I could just spend a month making 1,000 pieces that I just keep and then sell over time. Nathaniel, stop. Like, nar. I do read romantasy for fun because I like to be up with the SJM girlies, but then that turned into a costume and that turned into a piece that I made. So now it's work again. But I loved that one. That was good. And I sort of read it with the intention of being like, what can I develop from this? But really for fun, I really love going for walks. It's really nice in LA. It's part of the reason I live here is the weather. So I go for walks, sometimes with my dog, sometimes not. I like to cook for fun. It's fun ways to just like put my creativity. I like to find ways to put my creativity into something where it immediately benefits me. That's why I love food. I love cooking because you can be creative and then you get to eat it. You don't have to wait 3 months to get it back from your editor. Another friend of ours named Carter Michael, who's
also
big
been
TikTok guy,
interviewed
big
on
TikTok
this
dancer.
channel.
Yes, indeed he has. He and I have talked about needing to make sure there's some instant gratification in our lives because planners and doers and workers are extremely good at delayed gratification. And this is a very niche reference, but sometimes you need one marshmallow now and not to wait for 2 marshmallows at the end. For those of you who don't know, very briefly, there was an experiment done where they tested kids' ability to wait, and they said you can have 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later, and they found that children's impulse control is very bad. No surprise there. But it's a thing where, like, do you have the power to wait for 2 marshmallows? Sometimes you need to have 1 marshmallow now, and it's okay.
Yeah, I might need a marshmallow after this call. Honestly, that sounds great.
Honestly, same.
That sounds so great. Okay, another question I have. What are some of your favorite works of art?
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's such a great question. Okay, I just went to see the West End version of Next to Normal.
Cassie Levy, right?
Oh my God, she was so good. I call her Hot Diana because Alice Ripley was like Crazy Diana, and like it's a show about mental illness, so I hope that everyone will forgive that comparison. But like Alice Ripley is like quite a personality, and Cassie was so different from her, and I just loved it. I loved that production so much. It was wonderfully sung. The music was fantastic. The understudy who went on for Natalie was great. The guy who played Gabe was fantastic. I hope he wins tons of awards.
The guy who plays Gabe, some
he
Netflix
is so
person.
good. Yeah, he was in Shadow and Bone.
Rip! I really liked Shadow and Bone.
Yeah.
I was having fun.
So I have the series here, and I very much reached out to my agent when they were casting season 2, and I was like, please get me in for Nikolai. And it didn't happen, and I was devastated, but life goes on. That series, yeah, he was like the chaos twink who makes things explode.
Yes.
He's so good. That kid can sing. Holy moly. Oh, it was so good. Speaking of which, there's also, I actually am blanking on the name of it, but silly me, I did a project on Italian futurism in Theater Studies 111, which is the second semester class that you have to take as a freshman at Yale if you want to be a theater studies major, and they force you to take
section.
like a section where you study some niche piece of theater. And I was so upset because all of my friends got into the musical theater section, and I was like, I don't really want to do, I think it was kabuki theater. I was like, I don't think I want to study Japanese kabuki theater. What's Italian futurism? I like Italian. Let's go in. And it was bizarre. And yet some of their works of art, even though they are like, they're fascists. They're literally fascists. And that was like their whole thing. Some of their works of art are stunning. Some of the paintings, there's a statue that they have that I ran into at the Tate Modern by accident in London, and literally had a conniption. And as much as I love this about myself, I do think it was pretty weird for people to watch a 6'2" blonde guy like go into hysterics over a statue in the middle of a room. Like, it was pretty great. So I do love that. The UK next to normal. I really like marble statues. I really like Winged Victory. I am always been a big fan of the David. I've gone to Florence to see it many times. I love Italian architecture. I just love Renaissance style architecture and cathedrals. I'm a big sucker for churches and cathedrals. So I always seek those
threads
out.
that come in, like just those visual things that you're drawn to. They're what build the worlds that you are excited about.
Absolutely. I loved The Hunchback of Notre Dame when I was a kid so much. I have been in the show, in the musical since. And the first time I went to Paris, I just really wanted to go in, and it was before the fire. And I went in and I was so tired from walking around all day. And I sat in one of the pews and I fell asleep in Notre Dame. And I just remember feeling like Esmeralda, and I was like, sanctuary. Like, I feel so safe. And I was like, I finally got to live out my Esmeralda dreams. It was so great. I really like having experiences near or around those things, because for me, it just heightens being alive. It just like feels like being in a storybook. I learned being in Europe last month that Americans are obsessed with these things. It is truly an American phenomenon because we don't live around them. And so the people in the UK are like, why are you guys like so obsessed with us? Anyway, it's a long answer to your question, but I love architecture.
You kind of already answered my question about what good art you've experienced lately, but is there anything else to add there?
That production of Next to Normal on the West End was just so life-giving to me. It was just so great to watch really amazing people go for it and like have a good time. Everybody sounded so healthy. It was so lovely. I love watching performances where I can tell that the artists are well within their comfort and are not straining or hurting themselves, even though it's difficult. And like, yeah, it takes skill and precision, but like, I wouldn't want to watch the Olympics and watch people get injured either. I want to watch people do their best work, be amazing, but do it like safely, not be unable to make their work or do their thing later because they gave too much or they did it in a way that they used technique that didn't help them, you know?
Yeah, having seen some productions where people were straining, pushing through, it's not fun to watch. It makes me stressed out and scared.
No, it's not.
Which is something that I also have to remember for my auditions and stuff. It's like, okay, I need to take it easy, find ease in this, because nobody wants to be scared while they're watching their show.
No.
Okay, yay. So something else that I'm curious about is how do you define success?
It's such a good question. I will confess that I think there are many metrics. And I think one can accomplish some of them and not others. For example, the success that I am seeking this year is to make sure that my savings account is padded enough that I don't have to worry about my car breaking down or a medical emergency. Like that will feel like success to me when I reach that like financial goal that I have set for myself. That will be huge. I also believe that success is feeling like I'm doing my best work with what I've got in the moment. As much as I want every audition to be a slam dunk, it's just like not the case. Like sometimes you have a hard day, or you wake up and you just like, especially for singers, for some inexplicable reason that probably has to do with the seasons, like you just don't have it. It just like doesn't sound the same, and you're like, welp, I'm missing a paintbrush today, but we're gonna do the best we can.
1,000,000%.
So doing the best I can and honoring the material, even if I'm like, this isn't really for me, I wouldn't watch this, but that's not my job. My job is not to judge the material. My job is to act the material. So here we are. So let's see. So that was kind of financial, artistic. Personally, have to be really, really careful associating accomplishment with my artistry. Because if I say that I am not a successful artist until I win a Tony Award or an Oscar or BAFTA or Golden Globe, whatever, that is removing my agency in my ability to make my dreams come true. That's like saying, I hope that one day somebody gifts me a house.
Exactly.
Like that, sure,
like,
great.
You
like
cannot
manifest
attach
it
your
like
happiness with your life to that.
That's right. Or your self-worth. And that's where I think artists get in a lot of trouble, is by saying, I might be an artist, but I'm not a worthy unless I'm working on Broadway, unless I'm a series regular in a TV and film show. And I think that there is significant artistic freedom that can be accomplished when you let go of that. Because the high school students that I speak to at like conferences and stuff all like clutch the pearls and gasp when I say this. But like in a way, you have to care less. You just have to care less. You have to give fewer Fs. You know, like you have to present what you are good at, present your flavor, and not be upset. Well, try not to be upset. It's always hard, but they're not always going to pick your flavor of ice cream. Sometimes you were never really in the mix. I like to say that my flavor of ice cream is butter pecan. Like, I'm definitely white. You can't get around the fact that I'm definitely white, but like a little nutty.
A little bit.
You know, I've got,
adorable.
you know, and so like not everybody, that's a very unique flavor. And the people who love butter pecan, but some people don't and will never try it. Other people might try it and be like, not for me. That's fine. That's not my business. My business is, do I feel like I am
be the best butter pecan?
Honestly, happy.
Yeah.
That's right. The best butter pecan there are other butter pecans out there too, but like the best flavor of me, you know? And am I bringing my soul and my art and my work and my fulfillment to my work? And to be totally honest, a lot of times it's almost impossible to do that. You know, when you have an audition for something that you don't really like it doesn't pay very well, something weird happens where you're just like not into it. It can be really tough to like bring your full self to that. And you don't always have to do that. But I'm really trying to, because I want to be able to like paint with a lot of colors and like have a lot of fun with it.
My philosophy, I'll tell you more
for
about
me.
this off the record, but like I have an audition coming up where I'm like, I don't think this is a good fit for me, but let me do the best version of it. That's me, so that this casting office has a better understanding of who I really am and can find the next opportunity even better. Because I think especially like musical theater, the demands are so specific, and it's like beyond just like, can you hit the notes, but like, what is the quality of the voice style, blah blah. So like, just to really come in and say, this is me, this is what I bring to any given project. Wouldn't it be cool if you saw me for XYZ instead, even though you have called me in for ABC?
Totally. I really also believe that like it's never going to happen that I'm going to get a knock at my door and I'm going to go downstairs and open it, and it's going to be J.J. Abrams saying, I heard that an extremely talented actor lives here. Is it you? Would you come with me? Like the Cinderella of it all is like not going to happen. No. People cannot choose you if they can't see you. And that's one of the huge things that I think people forget. Of course it's hard to go in for audition after audition after audition, or worse, no auditions. But like, you got to keep doing it, and you got to keep bringing your best work, because you are meeting those people, and they can't pick you unless they can see you and they can see how great you are.
You're building up fans who are getting more and more excited about finding a place for you as time goes on, hopefully. Another question I have is, what has been your greatest challenge as you have done this multi-hyphenate thing, as you spin all these plates?
That's a really good question. The first thing that came to my head, and we've talked about it a little bit here, but the biggest has been, why don't they see me? They being casting directors, producers, directors, the industry, writ large. For example, it always comes back to Wicked for me, to be honest.
We love Wicked.
When I was 14, I wanted to be Fiyero so badly. I just like, that was my dream role. I was so excited for it. I wanted to bring something really unique and fun to it. And for years, my agents have submitted me 3 or 4 times a year. Every single time there's a call for it. And never one time has Telsey called me in for Fiyero. There was one time where I went to an open call for like M1 or whatever they call that particular ensemble track, the guy who runs around with a lantern. It's like a high tenor track. I went in and with every other guy over like 5'9" in New York City, which was hilarious, let me tell you, because if you haven't learned this already, you're going to become really close with the people who look exactly like you and who are your exact height and age, because you will simply wind up in the same room with them over and over and over again. So I saw all my friends and in we went, and I got to sing for the music director and never heard back. I did get a little mini call back in the room. They had me sing a nice B flat, which I did, but never heard back. I did get to go in for the movie one time for Fiyero. I was like, this is it. I am playing Fiyero today. They surely will need someone more famous like Jonathan Bailey, but I can try. And today I get to be Fiyero. And I was like, I was in therapy for this at the time, where I was like, is that enough? Can I let that be enough? This dream I've had since I was 14 years old. Can I learn that this dream that I had, which relies on other people to make it come true, is probably not going to happen? I have this chance to do it in my room with my friend, doing all the material I've been preparing for years. Can I let this audition be it? And I am happy to say successfully that I think I did. And I would still, if they called me, I'd be like, here I come. Like, I would love to play Fiyero still. But the hardest part, God, this is sad, but it's totally true, is like letting one's childhood dreams perhaps die, perhaps be transmuted into something else, or to realize that that dream was not within my control. That was something I needed somebody to give to me in order to make that come true. And I now believe that, you know, SMART goals, that sounds hilarious in this context. Exactly what it is. Yeah, that's right. So like, for example, if your dream is to buy a house, that is within your control, because you can calculate how much money you're going to need and you can start saving that money. That is within your control. If your dream is to publish a comic book, instead of waiting for a publisher to pick you up, you can do what my friend Josh Trujillo did, who wrote the Hulkling and Wiccan comics, or some of them. He had that day job and he saved up a little bit of money from every single paycheck, and he bought 1 page of art at a time. He commissioned an artist 1 page at a time, somewhere between 9 and 18 months, somewhere in there. Every single week, he saved money and gave up, you know, whatever he had to give up to do that. And then he self-published a comic book, and then publishers started to talk to him because he had already made something. That's humongous, right? So he made his own dream come true. And by self-producing, by self-publishing, he made his own artwork come to fruition. He did it in exactly the way that he wanted to do it. And the result of that was that people with power and money and influence saw what he had made and wanted that thing rather than what they thought they wanted. So they saw what he had made and they went after it. And now he has, you know, now he has published a lot more comics and been paid for it and didn't have to save up a couple of bucks from every paycheck.
That's a fantastic story.
Isn't that a great story? I think it's amazing.
So hugely inspiring. And yeah, exactly as you said. Maybe one of these days I'll do a video on like SMART goals for artists, even though people don't really like my arts career stuff. They just want me to talk about Disney movies.
I mean,
the algorithm
you are the
just wants me to talk
You're
about Disney movies. So we'll see how I figure out that cadence. Okay, this is slightly out of order, but how do you maintain your mental health as you got a lot of irons in the fire? So what do you do?
So many irons in the fire. I exercise, and I am very disciplined about what I eat, and I do not really drink. I do sometimes, socially, for sure, but I've been that way since I graduated from college. I've been very disciplined about exercising, about what I eat, and I mean, did I go through a party phase in my 20s? Yes, I did. I feel like that's sort of a rite of passage. I feel like a lot of people do that. That's totally fine. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if your listeners know this and they're under the age of 30, I hate to break it to you, but around that time, drinking heavily starts to have diminishing returns because your hangovers last for more than a day. I've had some hangovers that were 2 days long, 3 days long, and, just not feeling like my full self. And I value my ability to live the rest of my life more than I value drinking heavily, as, I used to think that was fun, and now I don't, for me. But yeah, I truly believe that physical health is not only an investment in your career, but an investment in just your life in general. Because what is the point of living to be 80 to 100 years old if you can't enjoy it? My goal, and I love the process of this, and I'm sure it will pay off, in 60 years, at least I hope so, but I really want to be mobile, be able to get around. Of course, I'll need help. There will be realities of aging, of course, but I really want to live a full life all the way to the end, and am really excited. I love taking care of my body. It makes me feel really good.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I think that's huge for mental health. Also, everybody should have a therapist. I just really believe it. You can go through times without, but my experience for myself has been that in bad times, I need a therapist to help me manage my emotions, give me feedback, sometimes just tell me I'm going to be okay, And in times of much less stress, I need a therapist to help me unpack things that I feel resourced and grounded enough to look at and tackle. Beliefs about myself, things about my family that I want to explore more deeply. And that's, I can't do that when I'm, in the depths, but when I'm feeling good, that's when I can do that. And all of that work, when done with someone you trust and done safely, can really make your art blossom because there's more of you to offer. You have more awareness of yourself. So there's literally more of you. It deepens the well. I think that's really important for people.
Totally. That's beautiful. Let's see. Okay. Shifting to another slightly different thing. What advice would you give to someone who is on the precipice of multi-hyphenating? Maybe they have their idea that's been rolling around in their little head and then they see this video. What would you say to that person?
My God, I would say, bless you, dear artist. Bless you, my creator friend, my brethren in creation. You just got to do it. You got to do it. And I would really encourage you to ignore the vampires, ignore the voices in your head.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
show.
thinking.
Die, Vampire, Die. God, iconic. Us millennials, we love that
God.
show. I would really encourage you to finish it. I would encourage you to get all the way to the end because it is extremely easy to start something, and it's even possible to get a part of the way into it, but you need to learn how to finish it all the way to the end. Otherwise, your good idea might wind up a half-finished draft in your sock drawer forever, and that's really different from a fully finished draft, because a fully finished draft can come out later and be refined. A fully finished draft can be given to somebody who wants to see your work. A fully finished draft can be submitted to festivals. You know what I mean? That's an example for writers, but also if you're learning a new dance discipline, don't give up because you feel bad at it. Part of the price that you pay for learning a new skill is that you get to be bad at it for a while. You got to keep going. I felt that way when I learned circus. I was like, I will never be strong enough to do this. There's no way. I cannot, I won't ever be there. I'm miserable. My body hurts, but I wanted to do it. And I just kept showing up. And one day it didn't hurt anymore. One day it wasn't sore anymore. Always be careful with pain. But it's just one day I didn't feel so sore. I could do the pull-ups. My back was bigger. I was like, OMG, I don't know when this happened, but it happened. And then I could really progress. I think that I really like being a beginner at things because I try really hard to be I don't care. I don't care. You know, the Judy Garland clip? That clip changed my life. Watching her do that, I was like, if Judy Garland can wave her hands in the air like a maniac wearing that beautiful dress, then I can learn how to do something and not beat myself up for not being good at it right away. For those of us who are doers, Zena and I are doers. We do things. We do a lot of things. I have only just recently learned how important it is to protect my mental space to recover. So I have to disengage from what I'm doing. I have to find communities and places to go that are outside of my regular working and recharge and have fun. Fun is super important. Zena, were you in that clown class with
Crying
me
all
at
the time
Yale?
in clown class.
Oh God.
Constantly.
That class, I am so traumatized from that class, and at the same time, it taught me so many things that I use all the time. And one of them is that, like, if you're having fun, other people will have fun. And if you're not having fun, it will reach its not fun tentacles into other areas of your life, which is really sad. But if you are having fun, it will energize other things that you do because you will just feel better. So making sure that there's some fun around, and that includes being silly and being playful and not putting expectations on your work for it to pay your bills. When I'm having fun is when I can make the best work because I'm just there. I'm like having a great time.
Absolutely. Amazing. Okay, I have the one last question on my list, which is, what are your ultimate creative goals? Like, what's your pie in the sky? Maybe they're smart goals, maybe they're silly goals, but what do you think?
Indeed. Well, after all of my highfalutin soapboxing about SMART goals, there's so many fun things that I want to do, mostly to do them. Like, the results I'm excited about, yes, but I want to do it. I do want to be a series regular in a TV show and find out what it's like to build one character over 5 years. You know what I mean? Or fewer, but still, that sounds really fun to me, to stick with a character for a really long time and see him develop. I very much want to know what it's like to produce something with a budget that's not like a couple of peanuts that I scraped off the street. Like, that would be extremely fun, because I recently learned that part of being a good producer is, I learned this from some of the producers on The Boys, some of being a good producer is not necessarily getting everything you want or finding a way to make all these things happen. It's maximum effect, getting the message of the art across as leanly as possible without spending a ton of money that you don't have to spend, not to devalue the work of the people who are doing that work that you would be spending that money on, because it's great, but get your idea across with what you've got. And I like that challenge. I learned that in class somewhere. It might have been a dance class. Something like, if you put parameters on yourself, if you only give yourself certain tools, if you limit yourself, that can actually be a great way to make work. Because you're like, what can I do with these 5 pieces of paper, some scissors, and one glue stick? Giving yourself tools like that can help you be creative, because we're problem solvers. We like to make things out of nothing. So other goals include, of course, I want to be on Broadway one day. I don't need to win a major award. I think that would be lovely, but I just want to be on Broadway in some capacity.
Just love it.
I really still want that. I would love to be on the West End. There's a new motivation, and the motivation is not because I want to accomplish my childhood dream and feel accomplished. It's because I want to be part of the community that's giving that to people. I want to be part of the artistic group of human beings who are operating and working at such a high level that they are consistently giving value and giving experiences to regular people, even just other artists, but also, the populace at large. And that's one of the reasons I love TV so much, and TV and film, is because it reaches so many people. You can really make an impact on somebody with that, and theater too, of course. So that's a big part of it too.
I wish you all the best with those beautiful goals. Okay,
Thank
this is
you.
not an official question, but as we're wrapping up, thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything in the works right now that you want to promote, or that you're working on and excited about? What's going on?
Oh yeah, I will work on it some today, actually. I'll go refuel a little bit, and then I'm gonna get to work on my newest project, which is called The Ice King's Heart, and it is an ACOTAR inspired made for social media series that I'm making. ACOTAR, for those of you who do not know, is the romantasy series written by Sarah J. Maas that is currently absolutely enormous. My summer was basically reading those books and listening to Chapel Roan. So I honestly feel fully enmeshed in current pop culture. But I have already shot it. I'm waiting for some footage and some photos to come back, and I am editing it and figuring out, this is a really different skill set, is figuring out, okay, I made it. I have the pieces. Now how do I put them all together? What's the most effective way to get everything together and, create something that I think people will really enjoy? And I hope that people enjoy it. So that's a big one. I have a couple of other costumes in the works, although they're expensive. So I'm a little bit paused on developing new looks for conventions and other things, but hopefully I'll be at the comic conventions. Oh, that's another good goal. I like really want to be invited to speak at those conventions like more often. Like I did my panel, which was on this kind of stuff, which is great. But like I really hope that one day I get to embody a character that like is a piece of pop culture, and that I get to attend. This is what I love. I want to attend a Comic-Con, a convention, like because I was that character, like as the actor, as the embodier of that character, because I just love seeing the people to whom that meant something. And my secret goal, my like little fanboy goal, is that I hope that one day a character that I create, I hope I see someone who is cosplaying that character.
Oh, wouldn't that be a dream?
That would be insane.
Wouldn't that be a dream?
That would be insane. It would be so fun because I love seeing people's creativity. And if my creativity can inspire other people's creativity, like, oh, come on. That is just so amazing. What a cool thing. So that'd be great. But yeah, so my socials are at Nathaniel Dahlquist. That's Nathaniel Dolquist on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I've got a big social media blitz coming up these next couple months with these new projects, so should be pretty fun to be on there.
I'm so excited to see. It's a blast to be your friend. It's a blast to be following you over these years and years, and to commiserate with you when things get wacky. So I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and best of luck.
Thank you, Zena.